No matter what happened in Russia, we, the United States, will continue to support Ukraine's defense and its sovereignty and its territorial integrity.
So to recap, we are currently fighting a war for democracy on behalf of a leader who just casually announced he's happy to end democracy, and our democracy-supporting leaders have no problem with that. In fact, they're strongly for it. Shocked? You shouldn't be. Of course they're for it. You should have seen this coming. Wars for democracy always cancel democracy in the process. That's why our leaders love them. And they all do it, even the virtuous leaders. Abraham Lincoln suspended habeas corpus. The British government under Winston Churchill threw an entire opposition party into prison and let them rot for the duration, in some cases with their families. So in a war for democracy, you can do anything. Imagine what a man might do who has fewer principles. If that man, say, ran Ukraine, he might seize churches, arrest priests, ban all criticism of himself, disappear his political opponents. And that's happening. Just last month, Zelensky threw a man called Gonzalo Lavra into prison indefinitely for the crime of daring to write about the Ukrainian government in unflattering ways. Now, what's interesting, what separates this from other such cases, is that Lavra is an American citizen. So Joe Biden, who is quite a bit of SWAT, as they say in Ukraine, could have freed Gonzalo Lavra within hours. But he didn't. He didn't want to. He didn't say a word about it. He remains in prison tonight.
This is my video update from Nicosia, Cyprus on this Wednesday evening, June 28th. Let's talk about some news. And this is actually my third go at recording a video for today. Because every time I try to record a video on this topic, which is the Kramatorsk missile strike, we get some new information, and it makes my video kind of irrelevant. And so it is now 7:30 p.m. here in Nicosia, and this is going to be my final take on this story. And I'm probably not going to say much on this Kramatorsk missile strike, because I just feel like there's a whole lot of fog of war around what happened in Kramatorsk that I think it's probably best to wait a day or two, and maybe we'll get some more clarity as to what happened, or maybe not. Maybe we won't get some clarity as to what happened in Kramatorsk. Yesterday evening, I believe this happened. Now, Kramatorsk is a town situated in the Donbass. It's controlled by Ukraine. I believe it's around 20 or 30 miles west of Artemovsk, of Bakhmut. Pretty much a straight line west from Bakhmut. And there was a missile strike that hit this town. And a lot of damage was done in the center of town, specifically to a hotel and a pizza restaurant. Now, the Russian Ministry of Defense, they did issue a statement. And let me find that statement here. And the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation reported that as a result of yesterday's powerful missile attack on Kramatorsk, the stationing point of the commanders of the 56th Motorized Infantry Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine was destroyed. The Russian Ministry of Defense also said that they destroyed many foreign mercenaries as well in this missile strike. Now, Ukraine reports are that a Russian missile hit civilian infrastructure, specifically a pizzeria where civilians were dining. And this is where we kind of get into the fog of war of the situation. No doubt civilians were killed. The last report that I got was eight civilians killed, 3 children, and 40 people injured. Those were the last reports that I got. But the Russian side of things, the Russian Ministry of Defense is is saying that they weren't targeting civilian infrastructure, and what they hit was a decision-making center, as well as an area where foreign mercenaries were housed. Now, there is photo evidence, video and photo evidence, specifically on Instagram, which is odd, of a lot of foreign mercenaries dining at this pizzeria. There's actually Instagram posts of foreign mercenaries dining in this pizzeria just about an hour before the missile hit. Even the Telegraph, they ran an article, and I think I bookmarked this, where the Telegraph says this: I was ordering a pizza in a bar. Half an hour later, it was blown up to pieces. 7 p.m. was sitting in a restaurant in Kramatorsk, eastern Ukraine, browsing the menu. 7:02, called away on other business to far side of town. Left restaurant at 7:30 p.m. Restaurant hit by missile. 8 killed, 40 plus injured. So there were foreigners at this restaurant, which is close to Bakhmut. Collective West Media is labeling these foreigners tourists, but I mean they were soldiers, foreign soldiers and mercenaries. I think that's crystal clear now. And there was actually video of rubble from the hotel that was hit by the missile. This structure, I think it was a hotel, and you could hear someone speaking, I believe with a South African accent, saying that the Russians, the bastards, the Russians, the recording says these bastards are destroying Ukraine. There are soldiers underneath the rubble, affirming that there are soldiers underneath the rubble. There are also reports that the U.S. sent Black Hawk helicopters. I mean, I can't verify this 100%, but the U.S. sent Black Hawk helicopters to this area in order to evacuate the U.S. soldiers and the mercenaries, and I guess take them to hospitals in Romania and eventually to Germany. So that's the information that I'm going to stick with. There's a whole lot of other rumors and speculation as to what happened. You have two different sides to the story. No doubt that civilians were killed. No doubt that many people were injured. I think it's obvious that a restaurant was hit. I've seen videos of this restaurant as well, this pizza restaurant. I've seen videos also confirming that there are mercenaries in this area. I imagine, reading a lot of the analysis from this missile strike, the general consensus is that these mercenaries, these foreign soldiers, American, British, these Polish, these foreign soldiers, were basically posting on social media, and it was no secret as to where they were. Their coordinates was no secret. So, the Russians knew that they were in this area. Of course, there are the arguments claiming that, what are these mercenaries or these soldiers? What are they doing in civilian areas, so close to civilian areas? Not even so close to civilian areas, like just at civilian areas, in hotels, in pizza restaurants. What are these mercenaries, doing in Kramatorsk? And why are they sending out their coordinates? Now, there's something that bothers me a lot with this story. Something doesn't feel right, and it has to do with Zelensky's tweet when this tragedy happened. And it is a tragedy. The loss of civilian life is without a doubt a tragedy. It's horrific. And the loss of children is heartbreaking. Zelensky's tweet when this happened, he said, "Today Russian terrorists also brutally shelled Kramatorsk. S-300 missiles. Unfortunately, there are killed and wounded. Assistance is being provided. the rubble is being cleared. And he said a lot more in this tweet when the missile strike happened in Kramatorsk. But the part that bothers me is where he says S-300 missiles. I just don't understand the S-300 missiles part. I mean, the Russians used S-300 missiles. From what I've read, 2 missiles hit this area, and I can't confirm this 100%, but this is what the reports that I've read, that 2 missiles were used. Is the claim being made by Zelensky, is it that the Russians fired S-300 missiles into Kramatorsk? I know that Russian air defense, the way it works is that they use 2 missiles. Like I think the S-300 missile system actually fires off 2 missiles to take out 1 missile. And I could be wrong about this, but I think that's how the S-300 system gets the job done, by firing 2 missiles to take out one incoming missile. I just don't understand Zelensky's tweet, to be quite honest. The claim is being made here that an S-300 was used. Why would Russia use an S-300? Now, there are reports saying that Russia used an Iskander, but Zelensky's saying S-300 missiles. And there are some people who are analyzing the situation who are also claiming that the strike looks like an S-300 fell in the area. Once again, this is, I can't confirm this, is just speculation. Maybe it was an Iskander, maybe it was an S-300. If it was an S-300, then I just can't see this being, I just don't understand why the Russians would use an S-300. And my mind goes to Poland and the incident in Poland with the S-300. But I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole here. I'm just a bit, something feels off. Something feels off with this tweet from Zelensky and the claim that S-300s were used. That doesn't feel right with what happened in this center of Kramatorsk town. So it's probably best if we wait a day or two and maybe we'll get some more information as to what happened, or maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe we're not going to get any more information as to what happened. But one thing's for sure, or 2 things are for sure. Civilians were killed. Children were killed. This pizza restaurant, this hotel, this whatever, this whoever was staying in this hotel and the pizza restaurant, those were hit. There were casualties, as well as the other thing that's certain, which is that there were a lot of mercenaries in Kramatorsk. There were mercenaries in Kramatorsk, and they were amongst the civilian population, and they were posting their whereabouts. So I think I'll leave this Kramatorsk story there and maybe wait till tomorrow to see what else we have as far as information goes. So let me just do one or 2 more stories. Let me do 2 more stories and we'll end this video. We'll make this a short video. 3 more stories. Let's start with Duda, the president of Poland, as well as the president of Lithuania, making surprise visits to Kiev. Secret, unannounced surprise visits. Now, you know my take on these visits to Kiev. Whenever the collective West sends people like Duda or Baerbock or Cleverly, in the case of the UK, who was in Kiev a couple of weeks ago on an unannounced visit, it's not really Cleverly meeting with Zelensky, or it's not really about Duda meeting with Zelensky or the Lithuanian president meeting with Zelensky. That's just the cover for something else that's being planned, because what happens is that you need to provide cover for something else that's going on. When these officials visit Kiev, perhaps they're carrying some information or some messages from DC, from the Biden White House, that they don't want to convey over secure lines, which may not be so secure, and they want to actually bring this stuff in person to Zelensky. Or perhaps they're with other people in their entourage who are going to be in Kiev, and they want to sit down with Ukrainian officials or Ukraine intel, because they want to talk about stuff or plan stuff. For example, in the case of Cleverly, I believe that when Cleverly visited Zelensky a couple of weeks back, he was the cover for the planning of the Kakhovkaya Dam. And I don't have any evidence to connect that. I'm just going with my hunch. But I believe that Cleverly, he was the cover, and there were probably some people with Cleverly who sat down with Ukraine intel, and they discussed the Kakhovka Dam and how blowing it up would probably help Ukraine in the Kherson direction. And that's what we're seeing, actually. We are seeing now Ukraine building up large forces in the Kherson direction. They've actually, from what I understand, they're working on creating a beachhead in that direction. And all of this is happening because of, at least my understanding is that all of this is happening because it's become a lot easier to cross over the river in the Kherson side of things. And that's going to be the next big push by the Ukraine military to break through. It's going to be in the Kherson direction. And the benefit that they have since the dam was blown up is that the first row of fortifications from the Russian military has been destroyed because of the flooding. So as Russia's trying to build up that first row, that first line of fortifications, because of the damage from the flood, the Ukraine military has an opportunity now to break through in Kherson, to cross the river, break through in Kherson, and perhaps even make it to the second line of fortification. So I think all of that was planned and went down during Cleverly's trip to Kiev, where he was the cover for the planners that arrived to Kiev and wanted to plan things out in person. They didn't want to do any of this stuff over the phone, as they say. So the fact that Duda is there, the fact that the Lithuanian president is there is troubling. It worries me, because it probably means that they're carrying with them either information or people that are going to plan something. Maybe something with the ZNPP, maybe something else. I don't know, but that's always a worrying signal. It's not really the meeting between Duda and Zelensky that's the real event here. Those guys are just cover. That's all they are. And Reznikov, just to add a little bit more to this story, the Ukraine defense minister, Reznikov, he told the Financial Times that the big main event in the counteroffensive is still to come. The main blow of the armed forces of Ukraine during the summer counteroffensive is yet to come, according to the Ukraine defense minister. So the New York Times, they ran an article where they claim that Russian General Surovikin knew about the Prigozhin Wagner mercenary rebellion plans. Russian general knew about mercenary chiefs' rebellion plans. U.S. officials say Yevgeny Prigozhin, the head of Wagner, may have believed he had support in Russia's military. So this is a pretty interesting development. The New York Times claims that they have Biden White House officials who say that Surovikin may have somehow known about everything that Prigozhin was up to well in advance. maybe they're trying to paint Surovikin as a co-conspirator. How about that strategy from the Biden White House? I don't buy it. I don't buy it for 1 second. I think articles like this are being put out by the Biden White House in order to try and create more doubt, more panic in the Kremlin or among Russian citizens, and they want to try to make it seem like there's a lot of palace intrigue surrounding Putin, and perhaps Prigozhin was not alone. Perhaps he had help from other military officials, which means that Putin's position is indeed weak. He has other people who are going to betray him or were trying to betray him, and they're just trying to basically sow panic and instability in and around Putin's government and his military. I don't buy it for a second that Surovikin knew about this or that he was aware of this. And if he was aware of this, there would be no doubt that he would report this to Putin. I don't think Surovikin's loyalty is in question whatsoever. But I think that the collective West and the intel agencies in the collective West, they're using the New York Times to try and create more cracks and more doubt in the Russian government. Not even more doubt, to create some doubt, because the one thing that the entire Prigozhin incident showed us is that the entire Putin government, from the bureaucrats to the local authorities to the military, they are completely on the same page and 1,000% united. So it looks like the New York Times and the intel agencies are using the New York Times to try and create some sort of uncertainty and cracks by running an article saying that Surovikin may have been in the know. Complete bollocks. I don't buy any of it. Anyway, that story that's an interesting story from the New York Times. And let me do one more story, and we'll do a clown world. And this story has to do with the BITCHUTE Lavra and some holy relics at this monastery. And an agreement has been reached between Kiev and UNESCO on the removal of Orthodox Christian valuables and relics, holy relics, from the Kiev BITCHUTE Lavra. This is according to the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, is what they have said in a statement. And according to the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, these holy relics are being removed and they will be handed over to museums in Italy, France, Germany, and the Vatican under the pretext of saving them from Russian missile attacks. Theft. Outright freaking theft. Theft on the part of Italy, theft on the part of France, Germany, and the Vatican. Shame on all of you. Stealing holy Orthodox relics and using a BS excuse that you're saving these holy relics from missile attacks. Shame on you. And where is the Orthodox Church in Greece? Where's the Orthodox Church in Cyprus and Romania and Bulgaria to condemn this? The Vatican stealing holy relics from the Lavra. Shame, shame, shame. That's all I have to say. Shame, shame, shame. So let's do a clown world. And in this clown world, let's talk about Annalena Baerbock's trip to South Africa. This is kind of two clown worlds in one. So Annalena Baerbock, this is part one of the clown world. She was sent to South Africa for the purpose of convincing the South African government to arrest Vladimir Putin if South Africa holds the BRICS event in August. That is what some German media is running with. Now, of course, they're saying officially she's going to South Africa to talk about Ukraine and talk about South Africa's neutrality in the conflict in Ukraine. But a lot of German media is saying the real purpose of Annalina's trip is to tell the South African government that you need to arrest Russian President Vladimir Putin if you hold the BRICS summit in August, in accordance with the ICC Hague warrant. That's part one of the clown world. Part two of the clown world is that during a press conference, and this is coming from Phoenix TV. I guess Phoenix TV is a German TV channel. I'm not quite sure. But during a press conference, the German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock on Phoenix TV was interrupted by Putin's speech at Cathedral Square in the Kremlin. So she was giving a press conference while in South Africa, and it was being broadcast on this Phoenix TV. I hope this is not a translation error, Phoenix TV. I'm pulling this from a Telegram video post, but that's what I'm reading here, Phoenix TV. I've never heard of this German channel, but anyway, they were broadcasting Annalena's press conference, and then they cut away from the press conference so they could show Putin's speech at Cathedral Square in the Kremlin. That's Clown World Part 2, courtesy of Annalena Baerbock. Now, the interesting part about Putin's speech at Cathedral Square is that in attendance at this speech in Cathedral Square was Russian Minister of Defense Shoigu. So Shoigu is the Minister of Defense. He remains the Minister of Defense. He continues to carry out his duties as Minister of Defense. Shoigu was also meeting with the Defense Minister of Cuba, where Shoigu told the Defense Minister of Cuba that Russia has Cuba's back. Whatever Cuba needs, Russia is there to support Cuba. This follows on to what the Wall Street Journal was reporting just a week ago, where China is thinking about sending soldiers to Cuba as well. So Shoigu is meeting with the Cuban defense minister, and today the Iranian defense minister invited Shoigu to a meeting, a face-to-face meeting. So I think the message is crystal clear. Getting back to Prigozhin and the Shoigu row, where I said in a video a couple of days ago that we'll get to the truth of all of this with what happens to Shoigu. If Shoigu stays, then we know that Prigozhin was in the wrong. If Shoigu goes, then we know that this was some sort of elaborate scheme. Well, Shoigu is staying. That's the way it looks, and the message from Russia's partners, allies, friends, and international partners in the multipolar world is that they want to show their support for Shoigu. They're inviting him to meetings, and they're signaling that they're sticking with Shoigu, and they prefer the stability of the Russian Ministry of Defense over what Prigozhin was offering. Anyway, that is the video, everybody. theduran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, and Telegram, as well as Rockfin. And go to the Duran shop. 10% off. Use the code GOOD DAY. Take care.